welcome our listeners to a special podcast. We are here podcasting from Overture over there in the Kennesaw area, and we have a special guest, Irish Dee. So Iris, welcome, and then you're going to introduce yourself in just a second, but you're on the Kennesaw Happening. So this is everything that's happening in Kennesaw, mainly to we call them our gray power, the senior citizens. That's where we're over here at Overture. So anyway, Iris, obviously, Trent thought a lot of you. Why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners, who you are, who you serve, and just a little bit. That's good. Then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I'm Irish Dee, and I call your Overtures Seenagers. So my Seenagers branded me as Irish Dee because they were like, here's Dee, here's Irish, here's this. So I ended up being Irish Dee. So I have been fortunate enough to be a top agent now year after year. I've earned platinum status with Cherokee County Realtor Association year over year, and I'm top 20% in my office year over year. So I've been blessed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I always tell our guests, recommend your best. Don't give me somebody that's not your best. So Trent, he obviously thinks a lot of you. So I have a couple questions for you. Okay. So there's a lot of realtors in the industry. So what has given you the distinction of being one of your top realtors in the area? What have you done to serve your clients?
So I don't like to be the real estate salesperson. I think there's enough salespeople out there. So I like to be the advisor. I like to sit down and listen to my clients and see if that's really the best thing for them to sell their house. If it's not the best thing for them, I'm not going to advise them to do that. I did have a senior that hired me to sell her house over in Dallas, Accredited Dallas, and in Pickett's Mill. And she had to fire another realtor because she wasn't doing her job. And she hired me to do it because she'd heard about me. Well, the other realtor was involved with buying her house on the other end and had already been written in as that realtor. So I sold her house and she bought the new house with the other realtor. And then 6 months in, she called me and said, Dee, I can't afford this house. I've got to sell it. So you're going to get another buy-sell out of me. And I said, no, I'm not. We're going to work out some ways and not getting you to move again because that's very expensive.
Yes.
So we worked it out that she had paid cash out of a loan, a commercial loan for that house. So that commercial loan is a higher interest rate. So I begged her to talk to my lender. My lender could get her a lower rate loan. So she just refinanced that house, paid off the commercial loan, and now she could afford her house and she didn't need me anymore. So she called me up and she said, well, I'm going to tell you now, you just talked yourself out 2 sales. And I was like, well, that makes me very happy. So it's just things like that. It wasn't the right thing for her to sell her house, and I'm just not going to have to do it. And things like putting too many finishes on new builds, too many upgrades, that's pricing you out of the neighborhood. It's not comping. So I'll remind you, like, don't do it. You're paying a lot of money and you're just pumping yourself outside the neighborhood. If you have to sell the house, you won't get that return. So, yeah. So it's obviously advice. I like to give the advice to people.
Well, it's so important. And the way we do things is we're givers. And yes. I always knew Trent as being a giver. So it wasn't surprising that he recommended you. Of all the people out there, he mentioned you.
Oh, so
So you probably owe him a coffee or something. I don't know. He is a prince of a guy. Okay, I love a lot of things you said in just that one statement. And so at what point did you kind of adopt that philosophy? Was it like, did you go to a seminar? What drove you to do that? Because not everybody does that. They'll just say, hey, man, I got another sale. Okay.
I do a lot because a sale is not right for everybody. It's probably not the right option. And so I got into the business because of us being sold on this stuff and my realtor selling me on this stuff and being a terrible negotiator and us paying for that out of our pocket. Your house is your biggest asset. In most cases, in the normal person's, the house is the biggest asset. So if they're selling that, they need to get the most money out of that. They need to make sure they get the most money. And if they're hiring a professional and paying a professional a lot of money, which I think we're paid a lot of money. I know we do a job, but I think we're paid a lot of money. I think we should offer services for that too. I think I should have a stager over there to take the pressure off them. What should they do to stage the home? Well, let me get a professional stager over there to walk you through that and help you. I don't try and, I see a lot of houses. I can advise this, that, but I'm no professional stager. So let me get you a professional stager because you deserve the best. So, and professional photography. You won't see me going around with my phone. And so it's just providing the services that I think people actually deserve. And my mom and dad are up there. So, you know,
they're looking after you.
Yeah. Well, they can also see me, right? And they're Irish Catholic moms, like.
Oh yeah, hey, I'm Irish Catholic too. So, hey, when I heard that, I was going, man, maybe she is Irish. I mean,
I am Irish.
Cool. Well, I'll tell you a funny story, and you only go back to, like, you know, if you go through ancestry.com, and one of my cousins, he's been doing it for 25 years. So we were talking about 2 weeks ago. And so we were just chatting about stuff. He said, did you know that we're not Kane, we're Kane? So we always thought that they dropped the O when they came over, my grandmother, but actually it was the MC they dropped. So I didn't, all my life I've been telling people I used to be Kane, but I find out 30, 40 years later, 50, well, how many years later, that my name wasn't what I thought. And all of a sudden, yeah, they came over from Ireland, my grandmother. And so he's over there right now as we're talking. But he filled me in on all this stuff that, you know, you always want to know things about relatives, parents, and sometimes you got to go back a number of generations. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate you saying that. And I want to bring one thing, because I want our viewers to understand this basic principle. When we moved to Atlanta, and this was almost 36 years ago, I didn't know a soul down here. So I had a friend in Richmond, and I said, hey, moving to Atlanta, I need a realtor. And you know who he gave me? His niece, part-time. We built a house. It was an absolute disaster, because I'm flying in. I'm here maybe once every 3-4 weeks. So I'm trying to check on the house, do her job, of course. Mm-hmm. And so I called him back and I said, Steve, listen to me very carefully. You blew a relationship. You don't recommend family just because your niece is trying to get in the industry. You got to look at the person that you're recommending. And I didn't talk to him after that. That referral, thinking, oh, I got to help my niece get going. No, that's not the case. And I still remember it 36 years later. So it makes a difference. And if you don't consider the person that you're trying to service, you'll do, I call it dumb things like that. Try to get your niece into the industry and sacrifice flying in and out, building a new house, there's so many decisions to make. There's so much going on. You got to check on this. And I didn't even see her except at closing when she got the check. I was so frustrated, mad, whatever you want to call it. I've told that story at least 1,000 times. So, your philosophy is refreshing because not everybody believes that way. So thanks for being on. I want to go and ask you a few more questions. So when you're not in servicing your clients, what do you like to do for recreation?
Rescue donkeys.
Do you really? Oh, good. What kind of doggies?
Donkeys.
It's like plural, right?
Yeah, donkeys.
Donkeys.
Yeah, donkeys.
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Okay. And so that's the thing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like they're abandoned or something?
They are. We bought this house. Empty nesters usually downsize. We
Yeah.
upsize to rescue animals because that's what my big why in life is to give back
Right.
to animals and rescue animals. And so we bought this house because it had pastures and a barn. And the house looks terrible. We got a lot of work in the house, but there's a barn and pastures, right?
Right.
So I contacted Save the Horses, and Cheryl gave me a donkey. I didn't ask for anything. I just said, I have 2 stalls. Give me what you need. I can take a retired horse, lame horse, whatever. I just want to rescue animals.
Mhm.
And she said, I have a donkey here. And that's how I got into donkeys. And I just loved I've had no experience. I knew nothing,
Right.
but I love my boys. I love
Oh
my
my
boys.
gosh.
Yeah.
That I had a friend that rescued horses, and so
Uh-huh.
I went down to his farm. Well, he rescued him, and he what do you board him? You board him
Yeah.
in a place. So I went down there in the pasture, and there's about 20 of them running straight at you. I mean, you talk about scary when big horses are running at you. You don't know if they know how to stop or not.
Exactly. Yeah.
All he did was like put his hand up, and they stopped. I went, oh my gosh, that
They're
was scary.
so agile, aren't they? They really are surprisingly agile. Like they can
Yeah. Yeah. It's like if anything, if you spend time knowing something, you're going to know the intricacies of, how they behave. So
Yeah.
what's the most interesting thing you can share with our viewers about donkeys?
Well, they didn't know me, so they have to get to trust you. It's taken me over a year to get them to trust me.
Okay.
So now when they see me, they run to the gate. When I come home, they run to the gate. They like to be mischief makers, which is great for me because I got the leprechaun in me, right? So I like to be a little mischief maker, right?
Yeah.
So all my clients love to come and see the donkey. So thankfully, all my clients remain friends.
Right.
Most of them get my husband's number.
Oh.
Then he's their personal friend. So they want to come over and they want to see the donkeys, and that's fine by me. The boys deserve all the love they've got from the abuse they had before. So yeah, so that's fine by me. Yeah.
Oh
So that's what my profits go for, and that's what drives me. That's what gives me drive.
I'm a firm believer in whys. I mean,
Yes.
I'm in a senior community, and I whenever I can, you can't preach. You just have to share. And I just said, got to find your whys. Got to find your whys. Because a lot of times people here have lost a spouse. They're here, their spouse has dementia or something that life-changing. And so after that, you better have a why, because so many times without a why, people go downhill. And so, so that's exciting. I've never talked to anybody that had donkeys. That's maybe that's what Trent, he probably likes you for a lot of reasons, but man, I see, man. So an Irish realtor that loves donkeys. Are you kidding me? That's like so unique. That's crazy good. Now, is your husband Irish?
He is not Irish. He's
my gosh. He probably just
boy.
wow. He probably just likes to hear you talk, and he probably doesn't say a thing. He just, come on, honey, just talk. And because you have such a wonderful accent. I love Irish accents. I just love them to death. So
he does have a saying, though. He has a saying that all wives' accents sound the same after a while.
Oh, I guess maybe.
And his wife, so it's just like
yeah. So what happens when you meet people for the first time? Do they say, "Are you Irish?" They do.
Some people mix me up with being English, and I'll be like, "I'll forgive you for that. I'll forgive you. Like we're friends. I'll forgive you." But
yes. The other side of the pond, but there's a big difference.
Yeah, but I don't mind. You can call me whatever you like once it's not too early in the morning.
Yes. So tell me, do you go back to Ireland? Like, do you take some trips over there?
I used to up to about 8 years ago, just because whenever I go home, the Irish are their own worst enemies with their hospitality. So somebody's not talking to somebody because I didn't stay with them or I stayed with them and I was like, this is just too much stress. And the donkeys and the boys, they keep me here a lot. So, because it's very hard to diagnose a donkey when they're sick, because usually when they're down, they're gone. So I hate leaving them with anybody. So yeah, so they're a vocation for sure. They're a vocation.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So you said boys, you have some boys?
That's my donkeys.
The donkeys, the boys. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Boys.
Hey, my partner and I, we have a funny thing. He was telling a story. We always now call it the dog moment. And he was saying, what's the common thing? And he was explaining about a dog walker, and he was explaining all this. And I was on the line and I said, a veterinarian clinic. And I was saying all this stuff that wasn't that they had to own a dog would be. So we always call it the dog moment. So sometimes I just totally miss things. I just don't see them. But no, I see what you mean. Yeah, it's like, woo, okay, that's okay. That is. So what do you think with the market? I mean, give our viewers a little insight in what you think personally. Now, I know everybody can read stuff, but what do you see in the market for real estate?
I see a lot of a real lack of inventory, and people still want specifics. They want the 100%, which I try. Trent can tell you, he used to be a client of mine, and until he got his 100%, we didn't stop, because it's their home. I'm not going to talk them into something else. So I want them to be happy. So it's just with the inventory out there, it's unrealistic to think you're going to get that 100% if you want it now. And everybody wants things now. It's the Amazon way, right? I want it and I want it now. Here, Dee, this is what I want, and just deliver that into my inbox. That's not how it goes. Right. So it's just that's the unrealistic. And if you're not prepared for selling your house, if you do not prepare your house to sell, it's going to be left on market. If you overprice it, it's going to be left on market. So you want to sell it in the quickest time, and you want to get the most money for it. And that's it. You want the most money for it. So, and you want to get to the close table, right? So you have to read the market to be able to do that. And right now we've got a lack of inventory. So we're going to prepare houses and we're going to sell them at the right price. Well, we're going to put them on the market for the right price and get you the most. Okay. So, and that's basically what you need to do when you're selling, when you're buying out there in this crazy market, because there's loads of buyers. Even though their interest rates are really high, we still have buyers out there. So when you're a buyer, just be realistic. Just know that if it's something specific that you want, you're in it for a long haul. You're not, you might win the lottery, you might get what you want on the first day, but if it's real specific, the items you want, then you're going to be in it for long term. You're going to be looking.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that's a good observation, and it's kind of what I'm reading. So it's nice to hear you say that in your own words, because you're in the market living. Besides taking care of your donkeys, you're taking care of your clients, and I'm sure you're reading all the time, and you're figuring out the education needed, because that's just important. So what would you say? Okay, we always like a book. Is there some good books that you could recommend to our viewers that you have read that you really touched you?
Yes, You're a Badass, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
You're a Badass. That is a great book. It's really, really good. It gives you self-confidence. It tells you to go for what you like. If somebody can be a president, why can't you be a president? And it just builds your confidence, and it's a self improvement book, and I love it. It's really good. I'd read it over and over again.
Good. I really like that the idea being yourself, and just, hey, look, if it touches somebody wrong, we can't operate in a world where you're afraid what somebody might think, because your head will spin like a top. Because you just got to be yourself. And so that sounds like I've heard of that book, but I've not read it. But I will definitely, maybe I'll get her to put it in the notes or something like that, so so our viewers will have an easy way to get a hold of a good book like that. Yeah. So what do you do? Like, as far as your education? I know you read books. Are there things, are you seminars? What do you do to stay current and top notch in your profession?
I do a mastermind 3 times a week in my
Really?
30 in my so we can stay current in the market. We've got
Yep.
about 20 agents, top agents, and we're all just telling each other what we're seeing on the ground, so we stay
Oh
current.
my gosh. Iris, I
Training,
haven't heard that at least in about 3 weeks on my podcast. I've been in masterminds probably about 25 years. It's absolutely essential. So tell me about it. So you meet 3 times a week?
We meet 3 times a week, 8:30, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And it's all the top agents in my office. And it's basically issues that we're seeing on the street, because real estate changes very fast, especially this market. So we're all on the pavement. We're doing it full time. So we come up with issues that we've come up against, troubleshoot them with our peers, and then give advice, tell each other what we're seeing on the ground, and just stay current. I also do training. It's why I'm with Keller Williams. They're the best trainers out there. So we've got constant training going on. I have to do contracts classes twice a year because contracts change twice a year. I actually did get into a deal just recently with an agent, and she says she doesn't believe in contract change classes.
Yeah, everything's changing. I mean, you better be current. How do you service your clients if you can't come up with, if something changes and you're left blind? What are you going to do? Like, oh, I don't know that. I wish I would have. Well, I don't
see the value in an agent like that, but hey,
everybody has a choice.
Exactly. So we're current. We're always being given classes, pricing classes, appraisal classes. I don't know how anybody can do this part-time, to be honest.
No, I agree.
Yeah. At the end of each quarter, we do Chart Masters, which is a big conference of all the stats in the market. We study them. I daily write down every daily stat that's out there, closed, pendants, and I look at it every day just to make sure, and I can see a change in my spreadsheet if it's going one way, if it's going the other, so I can track this real time. For my clients, I can track it. I can see if there's a shortage in new listings going on, if there's a higher amount of price reductions, if there's a higher amount of back on markets. I can see all that on a day-to-day basis by doing that each day. Yeah.
Man, that is so good. Do you journal at all? Are you a journaler?
No.
Okay. My partner is the best journal person I know. And I've always journaled, but I could never go back to them and get what I needed. Yeah. And I'm an Evernote person. I had 28,000 Evernotes in 10 years. So I have a digital profile, but it's not the easiest to search. But I can find things, but it just may take some time. But he showed me, I'll just let our viewers know, because we're just talking on that. I love that what you just said about you tracking things and really being able to provide your clients with the most current state of how things are, because, hey, real estate changes all the time. And so if you I don't need to learn anything, you're going to be blindsided. But the bullet journal, just for our viewers, we'll put a link in the show notes, but the bullet journal is a concept by Ryder Carroll. And he's basically, over 10 years, 20 years, he has absolutely turned journaling into a fine art. And that's because, let's just say we come up with a good idea today. It's not always fully baked today. You might be out feeding your donkeys and all of a sudden the idea hits you, and you want to be able to put it back where that idea started. So you always want to be able to have a place where you can get to an idea you had and maybe add to it as your mind comes up with ideas. Because I would bet, and this is just a guess, I don't know, I love farms. I just love farms. And the idea you can be out in the wilderness with the animals and it's creative. And so I imagine your ideas are flowing when you're out there taking care of your donkeys, and because it's your why, and it's your peaceful place. So yeah, just look up bullet journal and writer Carol, and you can get one for like $15 or something like that. And it will enable you, because you're a learner, I can tell, and you're a professional. You don't make it to the top of your profession unless you are that way. So that's a pat on the back. I'm going to give Trent another kudos, because I'm telling you, we only ask for one person. We don't ask, hey, do you have 3 people that might be good? No, we say 1. And he was like, yes, I do. I mean, he thought of you right away. It was crazy. And I didn't, well, I thought it was somebody else, but still, now I remember him when he said that. He said it within seconds. So people appreciate people when they can remember the best in seconds. And that's an impressive part. So what do you think when it comes to your local, like the Kennesaw, Cherokee area, is there anything going on in Cobb and Cherokee that our viewers would need to know maybe?
Woodstock, believe it or not, I know that's up from Kennesaw, but Woodstock is gosh, they're getting 18,000 people at their summer concerts, their free summer concerts right now. It is amazing.
Yes.
We had Rick Springfield.
What?
Free.
Oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Oh, I loved him, man. I had no idea. What was he in the amphitheater up there?
Yes, he was in the Norfolk. Yes, he was up there, and it was packed. It was packed. So Kennesaw is only a short trip up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Woodstock. So that right now, that's bringing in a lot of attraction, and they are paying big money for big acts up there. So
wow,
I actually do. Yeah, I do a magnet with all the concerts on it. The free concerts.
That is creative. I love it.
Yes, I love that. I love giving that out. I do love giving that out. So people know where to go on the concert nights, and they can put it on the fridge.
That's so important.
Yeah.
And a friend here gave me a magazine, and it was it was Kennesaw. It was the Parks and Recreation. And so I noticed that the amphitheater down in Kennesaw is going to be finished in the fall of 24 or spring. It was 24. So it's going to be that area is growing too.
Absolutely.
So everybody, I think, has gotten the message. Amphitheaters draw people. And when people come, it just adds the value of the whole community. So that's thanks for sharing that, because I have heard a lot of good things about Woodstock and what they're doing up there. So I know your donkeys are like saying, "Where is my mama?" And they're probably hollering and going, "Come on, it's time for feeding." So we're gonna wind down, but I want you to do what Trent did. Tell me one person, not 2, that you think is like yourself, a giver and somebody that's a leader in the community that we could have as a guest on our show. Or asked to be a guest.
Danny Baldwin.
Danny Baldwin? Okay. Awesome. What's Danny do? What's he do?
One Dead Bug. He is a bug guy, a pest control guy.
Oh, okay. Man, that's good.
He's amazing. He's so giving, and he always goes that extra mile for people.
Okay. Would you, I think Sarah will be reaching out to you when it goes live. Just or you can even send me an email with his information, introduce us so I can invite him on the show, because I'd love to. If he's anything like you and Trent, man, we'll put him on the top of at the top of the list. That's
a great
good.
Guy. You'll love him. You'll love Danny.
I could actually stay here all day long and listen to your accent.
I got you.
Because I don't have a good Irish accent. I lost it years ago. So I'm going to maybe, how you can study accents. Maybe I need to study it, because I have this love of the homeland, Ireland and stuff like that. So I'm going to try and work on my Irish accent. So maybe a future podcast, I'll be able to talk a little bit like I have a little Irish in me.
Okay. I can teach you. I can
Oh,
I'll give you Irish talking lessons.
Oh, yes, man, that's valuable. And my cousins, when I would talk to them, they would probably go, Pete, what happened? I said, well, I'm getting some lessons. And I give my secrets out. I don't hide them. So Iris, I want to thank you for being on. You are a wonderful guest. And I know our viewers really appreciate your candor, your expertise, sharing your professionalism. So I'm going to let you have the parting thought, like share with our listeners something that you would want them to take away.
I guess with being teenagers and things, life's not over till it's over. Get up and live your life every day. Every day. It's not over till it's over. So get up there and get into whatever you can get into and be mischievous if you want to. You've earned it.
That's awesome, man. I couldn't have said it any better.
Mischievous if you want to. You've earned it. You've earned the right.
Thank you for being an awesome guest. I really
thank you so much, Pete. Thanks for having me. And thanks. Much love to our teenagers out there.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Pete. Thanks.